it's lights out. Like this should be a top priority. It should be something we're in full on 5 alarm panic mode on, and it's just kind of met with shrugs.
Hey everybody, before we get into today's episode, I want to talk about American Home Shield. Just because you have to live with a busted tournament bracket doesn't mean you have to live with busted appliances and home systems. And let's be honest, breakdowns are inevitable. Without a home warranty, you could pay thousands when things like your oven, AC, refrigerator, or plumbing get knocked out of the game. But American Home Shield is here with the assist. I've seen enough appliances quit on me. And that's why I tell everyone, don't sleep on AHS. It's like having a solid 6-man for your house. An AHS home warranty can help protect appliances and home systems no matter how old. And if your covered item can't be repaired, they'll replace it. A home warranty provides coverage that homeowners insurance doesn't, like for breakdowns caused by normal wear and tear. So help protect your peace of mind and your wallet with a home warranty from American Home Shield. And as a benefit to select plans, you can video chat with live repair experts to help assess or even fix issues over the phone. American Home Shield, don't worry, be warranty. Get 20% off at ahs.com/dogwalk and see promo details. See ahs.com/contracts for coverage details, including service fees, limitations, and exclusions. Kraken. This episode is brought to you by Kraken, the official crypto platform of Barstool Sports, and the platform to use to keep investments simple. Here's the deal. You don't need 5 different apps to manage your money. Stocks on one thing, crypto on another, checking prices in 3 different places. It's exhausting. Kraken puts it all in one place. Crypto and stocks together on a platform that actually works. Over 13 million people use it because it's easy, secure, and doesn't overcomplicate things. Here's what you get. 350 plus cryptos to trade, 11,000 plus equities, including stocks and ETFs, recurring buys so you don't have to think about it, rewards for holding certain assets. Geo restrictions do apply on that. Up to $200 when friends sign up. Terms and conditions apply on that as well. One app, simple in and out. Kraken's giving you $25 in Bitcoin. New users go to kraken.com/barstool. Use code barstool25 when you sign up. Deposit and trade $100. Boom, $25 in Bitcoin. Done. Securities and brokerage services offered by Kraken Securities LLC, members FINRA, SIPC, digital asset services offered by Payward Interactive Incorporated, a FINCEN registered money services business, not a member of FINRA/SIPC, and not FDIC insured. All right, bang, today is Thursday. It is April 9th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Today I'm joined in studio by Chief, and we are also joined on Zoom by Jerry Thornton. Jerry, welcome back. Last time I had you on, we were talking crazy court trials and whatnot, so we're going to shift gears a little bit, but it's still all as much mysterious. We could put it that way for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Eddie and Chief. And it's funny how when I come on here, it's always these like complicated things, like there's a lot of threads here. And the Karen Reed thing, I had more people come up to me like last summer and just going, I watched both of those, and it was really hard to, it's a complicated narrative or whatever, but you and I managed to somehow make sense of it all. And I hope we can do it with what we're talking about here too.
Yeah, let's get into it today.
Yeah,
it's a wild story with no real answers.
So I admittedly have not paid a ton of attention to it. I see the headlines of your blogs, Jerry. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then Chief came up to me independently too. He's like, we should talk about this. I was like, well, I know Jerry's been writing about it, so now we're here. So where do you want to start, Chief? What is
I think we give the floor to Jerry because he's been crushing the blog.
Perfect.
So you want to give us a little background on what we're talking about, all the missing scientists?
Well, sure. You guys might remember, and your audience will too, that this elderly person went missing under mysterious circumstances, and the whole world has been talking about it. There have been hundreds of thousands of hours of YouTube videos and talk shows and podcasts. And of course, I'm talking about Savannah Guthrie's mom, who, God bless her, is one of God's children, and we all want her safely at home. But she's Savannah Guthrie's mom, and that took up all the space. And while everyone was talking about this retired Major General of the United States Air Force, who's got a brain filled with secrets, who headed up a $2.2 billion research program that's in itself is very mysterious and has been linked to UFO technology of all things. He also went missing. And for the most part, it's been crickets. Like most people don't really talk about this. The Daily Mail, the blogger's friend, God bless them, have been in this. and connected a lot of dots with a lot of other missing people. So that's the jumping off point of this whole thing. This guy's name is Major General Neil McCasland, excuse me, Neil McCasland, who walked away from his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, without his glasses, without a phone, and vanished. And that was the jumping off of this whole thing.
Yeah, and he's a guy who, like Jerry was saying, connected to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is, everyone talks Area 51, and maybe there's some stuff there, all the Bob Lazar Area 51, S4, but Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is probably like the real center of all the UAP alien technology. And then you have a couple of congressmen, Tim Burchard, I believe, from Tennessee, and then Matt Gaetz, have both had like outlandish, like kind of jarring comments lately. Matt Gaetz went out and said that there are like human alien hybrids running around, that they're like doing like crossbreeding and stuff. And it's like, to your point, there's just too much going on right now. Mm-hmm. So Savannah Guthrie was a story. I never really paid much attention to that, but between all the Iran stuff and the Epstein files, it's just like, this is like, it's a story that is shocking, but kind of like hiding in plain sight that no one's really talking about.
Absolutely. The other day I compared it to like a twine that you wrap around another one and then a few more, and eventually you've got a rope that you could use to hoist the mainsail of a ship. And this is what this is. Like, this disappearance of this man all of a sudden is now connected to the stuff you're talking about, the human alien hybrids. And what did the other congressman say? He said something like, if people knew the stuff I did, it would set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And then Nancy Mace, who's like a wild card in the whole congressional hearings too. She said, I've been in some of those meetings, so she's confirming that. And it's all tied to not just this guy disappearing, but other people who are connected to the work he was doing in some way, or with literal rocket science involved in what they were doing, have also gone missing. And then other people have just turned up murdered under mysterious circumstances. And there are people calling for the FBI needs to get involved in this. But again, in some cases, they didn't even begin to do autopsies. There's been no statement from the people that they were working with. And just to back up a little bit about Wright-Patterson, a few years ago, I read a book by a retired military officer named Philip J. Corso, and it was called After Roswell, in which he just said, look, I'm getting on in years. I'm late in life. I want my grandchildren to know the truth. And he said, I worked on taking downed alien technology from Roswell and reverse engineering it to figure out what it is and how we can utilize it. And his claims included that what they did is the government took these things that were recovered and gave them to corporations, like just kind of piecemeal, so that no one knew overall what was going on. Like, so they'd go to like an aerospace outfit and say, hey, look, we've got this. What can you make of this? And then, some computer firm and say, hey, we've got these. So he said from that, they developed, among other things, they didn't know that silicon was really good at transmitting and storing data. We ended up in short order with silicon chips. We ended up with fiber optic cables. We ended up with night vision. And really, if you look at the whole history of the human race and you pull way back, you can almost see that right around the early 50s, Roswell happened in 1947, that all of a sudden technology just spiked and one thing just built after another. Now, either that's because the human brain suddenly just kind of like the light switch went on and we started figuring stuff out, or technology fell to earth in a literal sense. And these guys, the government, figured out how to do it in such a way that no one was able to piece it all together. And that's kind of what Bob Lazar has talked about too, right? And that was happening out of Wright-Patterson.
Yeah, and then it's like, to your point, it's kind of like everyone's seen Oppenheimer, where you had Los Alamos, where it's like, we're going to bring in all of these scientists from all over the United States, all the most brilliant minds in this race to create the first nuclear bomb. With this stuff, it's like they did the opposite. It's like a couple weapons companies get something, a couple, like you were saying, aerospace companies get something, and they just kind of piecemeal it and get all this technology. And you're right, it does seem to happen, dramatic jump starting in 1947. But if we want to circle back to these missing people, you talked about General William McCaslin. There was another woman named Monica Reza. So she was a NASA aerospace engineer and materials scientist. So she had come up with this thing that they're calling the Mond alloy, which was a high-performance nickel-based super alloy, and is used for like things that are in a very oxygen-rich environment. And she was on a hike with friends. She was reportedly 30 feet away and then disappeared. Like, just people are like, we don't know what happened to her. They never found her body. They never found anything. They found a post on an obituary site for her that was premature. She wasn't even missing at that point. So that happened. She just disappeared on June 22nd of 2025. You had another guy named Nuno Loureiro. He was a director of MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center. He was shot dead on December 15th of 25. So he was working on like fusion energy and advanced propulsion. Carl Grillmeyer, Caltech astrophysicist, he was just shot dead on his front porch. And then you had Jason Thomas, chemical biology. He went missing December of last year. His body was found in a Massachusetts lake. And then there's been other, those are like the main ones, but there's up to like a dozen people that they think are connected to this.
Yeah, as we're recording this, I just saw another Daily Mail article mentioning a ninth, but it seemed the connection there seems a little thinner than some of these others. So, for instance, you mentioned Reza, Monica Reza. She was involved in the project that McCaslin was in charge in some, how directly, I don't know, but, the material that she came up with is considered vital to advancing our rocket program, just as we're taking the first leap into becoming an interplanetary species. And while McCaslin never went around making public pronouncements about UFOs, the reason he's linked to this, in addition to Wright-Patterson, is that when WikiLeaks came out in 2016, and that was all sent to a lot of those emails with John Podesta. So he was Hillary Clinton's chief of staff. So in there's emails from Tom DeLonge of Blink 182.
Yep.
Talking about communications he had with McCaslin. Now, not because McCaslin wanted him to come play, like all the small things at his, daughter's birthday or whatever, but because DeLonge started the To the Stars Academy, commonly referred to as TTSA, which is just about UFO research and how to disclose things. And he told Podesta he got advice from this major general who, again, went missing. Now, in the case of McCaslin and Reza, there's no, remains found. Again, he's in New Mexico. Like, they haven't found his bleached bones in the desert like a Georgia O'Keeffe painting, right? They never found Reza, mauled by a mountain lion. There's not a trace of them has been found.
And for Reza, there was an extensive search. Like, they had police, they had helicopters, they had search parties, they had all sorts of things looking for her. They didn't find a thing.
Has that not been the case for McCaslin?
No, McCaslin's disappeared too.
Yeah, no, but have they had search parties, or what are the police saying? What are investigators saying?
They issued a silver alert, and his wife has made some statements about feeling like he was. This is not like him, but he's getting on in years or something, pretty vague stuff. And I mean, I'm putting anything on his wife. They've released her call to 911.
Yep.
And really that's about it. Now, again, Savannah Guthrie's mom, how many man hours have been spent on this? with all due respect to the woman, she's not walking around with government defense department secrets in her head. This guy presumably is. And if he ends up in the wrong hands, along with this woman who's developing these like rocket metals, it's lights out. Like this should be a top priority. It should be something we're in full on 5-alarm panic mode on. And it's just kind of met with shrugs. This guy, again, Lorero, right?
Nuno,
he was from MIT. The director of Plasma Science Fusion Center. His story gets even more bizarre because you remember there was a shooting at Brown University.
Yes.
And that went unsolved for a few days. And the authorities kept on saying, there's no risk here. There's no problem. Everybody's safe. And they're like, well, how is that possible when someone walked into a classroom and started opening fire on people? So a few days later, this MIT professor gets shot in his house on a Sunday morning in Brookline, Massachusetts. And they find out it's the same guy. Now, they both were born in Portugal. That somehow was the thread that connected them. But someone went from Providence, Rhode Island, drove, 90 minutes on a good day to Brookline to murder this guy. And I don't know, was that some old, Iberian Peninsula dispute? Like there was just some Portuguese bad blood between these two? It's tragic until you realize how important this guy was, that he was working on, renewable energy sources, plasma fusion, fusion for people who don't know, to my like public school way of understanding it. Nuclear energy is fission, which creates radiation and it's dangerous and whatever. Fusion would be completely safe and renewable. There's been talk about him being involved in 0-point energy, which I know from Syndrome in The Incredibles. Like that's what he had developed to become a supervillain. So again, these people involved in incredibly important things that all had some sort of a common thread among them, in that they're all either turned up missing or dead.
Yeah, and the 0-point energy was something that Podesta had in his emails as well. So I just pulled it up again. He goes, remember our nonviolent ETI, which is, I assume, an abbreviation for some sort of extraterrestrial from the contiguous universe, are helping us bring 0-point energy to Earth. They will not tolerate any forms of military violence on Earth or in space. So it's like, what the fuck does that mean? Like they're having that level of conversation where there are terms and conditions with aliens about 0-point energy.
Yeah.
In these John Podesta, and it's like John Podesta is not a nobody. Like he would have clearance. He had, so if he was with the Clintons, so obviously Bill Clinton was president. Hillary Clinton was a senator for New York before she ran for president. So she, like, a very connected person. And he's just having these emails leaked about communications with aliens.
Yeah. Okay. And this Carl Grillmayer that you mentioned, shot on his front porch. He was doing experiments with detecting water, and how they figured out how they could detect water on distant planets. And they found one that's 160 light years away, which it is a distance. It really is. But in cosmic terms, it's the distance between your front door and like your mailbox.
Yeah, your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Like theoretically, we could go over to their house to borrow a 6-pack or whatever. In giant cosmic terms, how does that guy sitting on his front porch, presumably minding his own business, turn up dead? Another guy, this Jason Thomas, chemical biologist, he was working on medicines, including cancer research, and he turns up dead by a lake near his property in Wakefield, Massachusetts. But the work he was doing involved a lot of contracts with the War Department. Now, no one's saying that he was murdered, but no one explained what the cause of death was. Just this guy this is on St. Patrick's Day of this year, he turns up dead near his own property. if this was a bunch of like Starbucks baristas dying under these circumstances, we go, okay, there's a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah.
We're up to 8 and possibly 9 people who were involved in really sensitive, really important, groundbreaking work in different fields, all somehow connected to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
But don't you think the ones that are, I don't want to say over the top, but a guy getting shot in his front porch, being connected with the Brown shooter and the other guy, I mean, isn't that like back in the day? I know we did an episode on the water-fueled car guy.
Yeah.
Who I think you may
Stanley Meyer.
Yes. He
was selling his technology, sat down with some people at like one of these kind of roadside highway type of places. What's the big chain of those?
Denny's or something?
No, like bigger than that, with a front porch and everything. Doesn't matter.
Cracker Barrel.
Like a Cracker Barrel type. It might have been literally a Cracker Barrel. And then he has an iced tea, and he immediately gets violently ill. He's sitting there with his brother and these 2 potential investors. Drinks the thing, goes in, starts vomiting everywhere, goes out to the parking lot, says they poisoned me, and he died. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know. It's odd.
That feels like the old-fashioned way, right?
Yeah.
You know, how they used to do things. Is this, I don't know. Like, obviously we are speculating, but is this not being a pattern, like part of the plan? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then there's another woman involved in this whole thread too, who worked at Los Alamos. She and her husband did. Her name is Melissa Cassius. So she drives herself and her husband to work one day, and they're practically there. And she goes, "Oh, son of a gun! I left my key card at home. I'll drop you off, and I'll go back and get it." So she does. She then stops and brings lunch to their daughter, who's at work or school or something like that, and then tells the daughter, "I have to go home and get my stuff and then report back to work." She disappears. Again, without her keys, without her key card, without a wallet, and without her phones. She had 2 phones. She had a home phone. She had a work phone. They find them both at the house, scrubbed all the way back to their factory settings. Now, this happened. I'm looking for a timeline on this. This was, I think, a few months, or give or take, when McCaslin disappeared. But again, they're working at Los Alamos. The only thing they have of this woman is a photo from a security camera, doorbell camera, whatever, just walking with a sweater tied around her waist and none of her things. Now, your average homeowner, your average mom doesn't take the dog for a walk without her phone, her keys, her wallet, or some combination thereof. All these things were found at home and completely scrubbed. And this, again, happened in New Mexico. It's not like you can just walk to the next town in New Mexico. And she hasn't been found, didn't turn up in the desert, no bones, no remains. But someone now she was an executive assistant. What that means in Los Alamos terms, I don't know, but probably she had some security clearance for the materials that she would have been handling on a daily basis. I don't think she was just like, filling the coffee pot on a regular basis or whatever. Yet another layer to this parfait.
Yeah, and then you have, like I mentioned, Tim Burchett before, the congressman from Tennessee. He's given the interviews, and he's calling for, like, better FBI scrutiny, which good luck with this FBI. But in an interview, he's like, "Oh, and by the way, like, I'm not suicidal. I've never been suicidal." And it's like a sitting congressman feels the need to go public because he's been really at the forefront of this UAP stuff, that he feels the need in this climate to be like, "I'm not suicidal. Like, if something happens to me, it wasn't me, no matter what the story is." Like that tells you, like, the real level of danger that is suspected when you're linked to these different things.
Does it feel like shit's about to go down soon?
Dude, it feels like shit is going down.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? What does that mean to you?
From the respects of, obviously, so what is it, 9 people, Jerry?
Yeah, As of today, they're saying 9, but we'll see what this ninth one, how directly it's linked. But let's call it 8 or 9, all of whom seem to be really brilliant people and not the kind who just like vanish into thin air.
Yeah.
So we got 8 or 9 people that just vanished, who all seemed like they were
working on advanced technology.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That may disrupt some things or may open people's eyes, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and like you bring up the Stanley Meyer, the water car thing, and he had another invention that kind of like he got burned on some other transformative thing, but that goes back to Tesla. Okay, like there's Jerry, the conspiracy about Tesla, where he was being funded by J.P. Morgan, and he had this basically is kind of designed to work what people speculate the pyramids might be, which is like a wireless energy source, and he was working on it, and he's like, hey, like, because he thought he was originally starting on wireless communication, and then it turned into like, no, we can do wireless energy. And JP Morgan was like, okay, like that's really interesting. Like, where do you put the meter? Because you're just pulling all this energy like out of the atmosphere and using it for power. And Tesla goes, no, you don't get it. It's a transformative technology. It's free energy for everyone at any time, no matter where you are. Like you can plug a light bulb into the ground, okay? And JP Morgan goes, no. Like that's, so they pulled the funding and like ruined him, and he died in a Manhattan kind of dingy hotel and like penniless. And then so as soon as he dies, and then the equivalent of the FBI or whatever comes in, snatches up all his findings, notebooks, all his work, his research out of that hotel room that he lived in for a long time. And you know who was handed that material?
I don't.
Donald Trump's uncle, who was a professor at MIT at the time. Okay? Like, it's just like it's amazing how many times like the same families over and over and over throughout the last 150, 200 years are all linked to these different things.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And, there's one of my favorite lines in one of the most quoted movies of all time, but no one ever mentions this much, is in The Godfather, where, Michael's saying, well, my father's like anyone. He's like any politician, any senator. And she says, yeah, but they don't go around getting people killed. And he said, now who's being naive, Kay?
Yeah.
And then in the second one, where they're saying, well, we can't kill Hyman Roth, he goes, if there's one thing history has taught us, is that anybody can be killed.
Yeah. Yeah, he was untouchable, and they get him in the airport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like Nicholas Tesla living in a in a hotel room, talking about building a tower that's going to make, anyone involved in energy a lot less rich. Yeah. It was probably the easiest guy in the world to pick off.
Yeah.
So what does your gut tell you, I guess, Jerry? Like, is this more of if you had to guess, if there is some funny businesses, and if the smell is what it may be, is it the government trying to shut this shit down, or is it like the elite business people trying to stop something here?
Or a foreign power.
Okay.
That sees like either snatching people when they're most vulnerable, like a guy just walking by himself, or a woman on a hike or whatever, to get secrets out of them. Whether that means they're in the well of someone's cellar, having to put lotion on themselves to get the hose, and unless they spill the secrets or whatever. That seems really likely, because we're in a very intense space race right now. Like, as NASA keeps saying right now, that this trip to the moon isn't about flags and footprints. This is about a permanent presence. It's about harvesting the moon for energy, energy that's going to fuel AI, that's really going to decide the next phase of human existence. I mean, we're really at a nexus right now, and whoever gets there first and starts harvesting this stuff is going to dominate the world. So it would seem to me that any of the countries we're starting to compete against would be really anxious to find out what these people know and what they've found. The X-Files fan in me goes to the other extreme and says, okay, this is the alien saying, you've learned enough. Now we want you back, and we're back to rectal probes and find what humans are made of. And even with the rectal probes, I just always keep going back to Homer Simpson when Kang and Kodos beamed him up into the ship. He goes, okay, here we go. And he starts to take his pants down. They go, please, we've learned all we can from rectal probing.
Yeah.
But then again, it's hard not to go back to alphabet agencies, because clearly when you've got a congressman like you mentioned saying, yeah, I'm not suicidal. And even, a few years ago, Chuck Schumer said this on like CNN.
Yeah, this was
giving
crazy.
An interview about Trump taking on the deep state. And he says, I don't know why he'd talk this way about this. I mean, those guys can mess with you 8 different ways from Sunday. Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. And they just let that slide. I think it might have been Meet the Press. And they just like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And they just move it along. So
like follow-up questions, like how exactly would they do that? What can you tell us about that? And I think your average American thinks that there is a deep state and it's real powerful, and they've got ways of getting you either through blackmail. And by the way, let me just say, I think the 3 of us all agree they're doing a heck of a job. Like all our intelligence agencies, God bless them. They're keeping us safe from the commie hordes. Okay,
love those guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason to go through my bank account.
Brave Americans.
I'm proud of every one of them. And I've got good friends who have worked for the FBI too. So absolutely love those guys.
Yep.
But when you start seeing all these things add up, okay, here's another one we haven't even mentioned. This guy was with NASA. His name was Frank Maywald, Maiwald. Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He was awarded the JPL Principal Award, which is Outstanding Individual Contributions. He was working on satellites that can scan the Earth in distant worlds for life. He dies under mysterious circumstances. A very young man, I'm going to say this, the tender age of 61. This was just last year. And NASA never commented on him. There was no public pronouncement about the work he had done. The only mention of him in any reports was his own obituary. They never did an autopsy. Just this guy who's searching the universe for signs of life turns up dead. A lot of this just sort of feels like an intentional, unhealthy incuriosity. Like people don't want to ask questions. And then this last one that, again, I wrote about just, this would have been Tuesday of this week. Another guy from the Los Alamos, the LANL, he retired in 2017. He vanished last year without a trace. Guy named Anthony Chavez. Again, anyone
poof
the least bit curious about that? And again, one person disappears. Okay, that's kind of odd. But 2, that's a coincidence. 3 or more, it's some other thing entirely.
Yeah.
There's a pattern here.
Hey guys, let's talk some shady arrays. Chief, you got a pair of shady arrays?
I did.
Yet?
Yeah, they're in my car right now, blocking out the sun.
They're sharp, guys. They're sharp. So quick question, how are my shady arrays basically the same quality as the $200 sunglasses I used to buy? I don't know, but they are. And
They're
I'm not,
great.
Yes,
Yeah.
not exaggerating. They feel every bit as premium and as expensive as the expensive brands that I've owned. Meanwhile, I'm wearing shady rays at the lake, on the boat, at the game, on the job site. Because if I drop them in the ocean, they replace them. Knock them off a dock, they replace them. Sit on
That's
them one
kind of
day.
crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
They got the old warranty there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the crazy part. They're actually premium Polaroid lenses that cut glare hard, super clear optics, durable frames with solid hinges, clean classic styles that look sharp without trying too hard. If you're outside on the water in the sun, driving every day, you need shades that actually perform. Go to shadyrays.com, grab a pair, and get sunglasses with lost and broken protection. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com, use code WALK for 40% off 2 or more polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. The shades are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. 40% is a good discount.
Oh, huge.
Get in on that action. Go buy some Shady Rays. Use our promo code, please. It's called WALK. And enjoy your sunglasses. Also, guys, from the creator of John Wick and Nobody comes the new movie Normal, a double-barreled shotgun blast of pure mayhem. For Sheriff Ulysses, played by Bob Odenkirk, a new job as temporary sheriff in the quaint town of Normal, Minnesota, was meant to be a welcome respite from recent troubles. But when a botched bank robbery interrupts the peace, a dark secret is exposed, and Ulysses discovers that the town of Normal is anything but. Directed by Ben Wheatley and starring Bob Odenkirk, Henry Winkler, and Lena Headey. See it only in theaters, starting April 17th. Go check that movie out. We love some Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, yeah.
And some Henry Winkler.
The Fonz.
The Fonz, baby.
Yeah.
He was awesome in Barry. All right, yeah, go check that out. Let's get back into the show.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. Like, if this is such an important race, okay, and they're working on these vital technologies, you would think that now that has become a dangerous field to work in. You might not be getting, the next generation might not be getting the top people because they're like, well, if I do well in my job, my career, and I advance, there's a decent chance that I get murdered or abducted or something. And it's just like, so is this like the right long-term solution? And it's just, I don't know. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Jerry. What do you think the big deal is? Let's say there are aliens. I don't think that's going to necessarily change how people live their lives if they're just like, yeah, aliens are real. So what do you think the big secret is about, at least in terms of acknowledging in a real way that aliens are real and we've had contact?
Well, one of the theories that's always been there about the lack of disclosure is that we're all happily sedated. You know, we've got TVs, we've got meds, we've got the internet. You know, we're controllable.
Yeah.
Right. Because we just, we've been pacified. But there's this terrible dark truth out there that if we ever find out what it is, that it's going to be chaos. And so that they're keeping this from us for our own good. And I got a friend who, he has done some paranormal podcasts. He does some TV work in the paranormal. And I won't quote him because I didn't ask his permission, but he's also, a devoted Catholic. I consider myself to be one as well. And his theory is this is demons. And that what we're talking about here have been around forever. We just used to use different terms for them.
Yeah.
And then in the late 40s, they started, talking about sci-fi and moon launches or whatever in Roswell. And so then it became aliens, but that we're talking about the same thing. Now, for the people who want to also say, well, UFOs, it's just, it's a hoax. It's people looking for publicity or whatever. The history of this doesn't start in Roswell in 1947.
Yeah.
I mean, Columbus talked about seeing a underwater UFO while he was crossing the Atlantic. It's in his journals. There's a missionary in Utah, and I'll think of his name, Father Escalante, who wrote in his journal about flying, glowing discs overhead. There are supposedly, you can find in the Old West, like newspaper accounts of what they called flying airships overhead. I mean, again, was Columbus and Escalante and the San Francisco Examiner or whatever, were they back then saying, all right, we're going to say this now, and then in the 2020s, people are going to talk about us, and it's going to be great. No, or were they just saying, we see these things, we don't know what it is, but this is what I saw.
Yeah, and then there's all sorts of things, even going further back than that, like the Nazca lines in Peru, where it's like, have you seen these? Do you know what I'm talking about with those?
Are you talking about like the kind of the pictographs?
Yeah, but they're enormous. Like you could only know what they were if you were looking at them from space. But they're like these pretty intricate designs where it's like if you're in a corn maze, you can't really see what the structure is.
Right.
It's like, but when you get overhead, you can see it. And so like those Nazca lines are that. There's all sorts of references in like ancient texts about, you know, people landing here and doing all sorts of different things. So maybe they have been around forever. In terms of like the demons thing, Tucker Carlson has said that too, that he's pretty convinced that they're demons. I don't even know what that really means. Like what, you know, what is that? What does that mean that there's demons?
Well, I've heard that if you go, say, to
and you're talking to a couple of Catholics here as well. So
yeah, I've heard if you go to the Skinwalker Ranch, that you experience things that you know are not natural. They're not of our reality. And again, I haven't been there. I'm hearing this secondhand, and that people have been there have like felt themselves attached to some kind of demonic presence, and it's been known to follow them home and start like haunting and terrorizing them and stuff. And that it's it's you know, it's even a hard thing to talk about because, you know, it sounds so inherently crazy, but again, these things have always been discussed by human beings. And, you know, if you believe in the New Testament, which I do, it's commonly discussed in there. And that, you know, it's, again, another great movie quote from The Usual Suspects, where he says, you know, the devil's greatest trick is making people think he didn't exist.
Yeah, but then that makes me wonder, like, because you see a lot of evil in the world, especially going on right now, and it's like, well, are they the ones that are possessed? Are they the ones that are in contact with these things? And then you read the Podesta things, and it's like, we won't stand for any violence or wars, and it's like, so like who's I can't. It's like beyond me.
Yeah,
like, I can't even really conceptualize what's going on.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about concepts that it's really hard for our, you know, 8 pounds of gray matter in our heads to really visualize it, put it into context. You know, we're dealing with something on an entirely plane of existence, or we're dealing with creatures that built ships and figured out how to transit the space and bend the space-time continuum to get here, to come study us because we're a bunch of crude primitive monkeys and it's fun for them to watch it, which seems a lot more benign than
I agree. I agree. I'd much rather have that. Like, give me an Independence Day scenario over something biblical.
Right. And there's been plenty of reports about these UFOs going over like nuclear silos and shutting them down.
Yeah.
And so it's possible that, you know, once we started firing off nukes, that it kind of alerted these people to, okay, now we have to go intercede, or else these crazy territorial apes are going to, like, you know, blow themselves to smithereens, and there's hope for them, or whatever. You know, Joe Rogan gets into this quite a bit, and he has a great point about how, just look at how odd humans are, that we wear shoes and we don't walk around naked, and we use tools the way that other animals don't, and we're completely set apart from every other being on Earth, which, okay, you know, being Catholic boys, I think we agree that, you know, we were created, and, you know, and to have dominion over all things. But his theory is, well, what if these people picked a winner? They came to Earth and they said, okay, well, Neanderthals, they're not really it. These Homo sapiens, all right, yeah, let's kind of give them an evolutionary boost to see what they can become. But you know, at the same time, Star Trek, one of the recurring themes of that was they weren't supposed to go to other planets and interfere. That was it. Like, there was one where a guy left behind a tricorder, and, you know, this whole civilization was just based on what they were able to figure out from that.
Yeah.
that there's another possibility that these aliens have come here and they picked a winner and we just happen to be it, but they're just backing off to see what the experiment is.
We're monkeys in a zoo.
Yeah, my brother Jack was a huge UFO guy. We had I say had because he passed away last year, and a lot of our conversations were about this. And he had this theory that it was basically a whale watch for them, like they're sailing around in the sky, just going, "Hey, look at this! Hey, look at they built that thing," and now there's there are cities where there used to just be forests or whatever. And for them, they're just curious and then they go home. But it's like you said, that's a much more benign reading of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just that if that was the case, we wouldn't have members of Congress talking about how like terrifying this all is.
Yeah.
What, Jerry, out of all these disappearances, which one do you kind of keeps you up at night the most? Like, which one is the most disturbing? Which one is the most curious? Like, which one are you thinking about?
Yeah, it's got to be McCasland just by virtue of the fact that, I mean, he's forgotten more gigantic secrets to our defense than most people will ever know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if, let's say, it is some foreign entity that doesn't have our best interest at heart, and they captured this guy to get information out of him, it's lights out. I mean, again, a $2.2 billion project that he was dealing with, plus his involvement in UFO, even if it's nothing more than emailing the lead singer of the band that, you were listening to the first time you got to second base, that's a big thing.
Yeah. It is crazy that Tom DeLonge is just like at the center of that.
It is, yeah.
That he broke through somehow.
Yeah.
No. And if his emails hadn't been hacked and then released, we wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
And does it always seem to you guys that we're like a month away from having the big reveal, but we're always a month away? Like, I swear at some point in between now and like June, they'll announce some congressional hearings and there'll be some PowerPoints and there'll be some grainy photos will be up there and people pointing to graphs, and then nothing will come out of it. And then they'll do it again in like October. Like I've been chasing this rabbit down the same hole for like the entire time I've been at Barstool. And I feel like we're really no closer to any answers. We see stuff like Lieutenant David Fravor, who is the best and brightest that America is capable of producing. Is this fighter pilot? He's been in the wars. He's been through everything. He saw things with our most sensitive equipment for detecting aircraft, and saw a thing go from 50,000 feet to 5 feet above the surface of the water in like 1 second. And okay, and then people go, well, like Neil deGrasse Tyson will say, yeah, but that doesn't prove anything. Okay, but it's not nothing.
Right.
You're ready to just shrug your shoulders and walk away from it? Or, well, that's just some new system that we're working on. That's some, advanced technology that we've built the way like we kept the Blackbird under wraps. And no one knew what a stealth fighter was until they just rolled one out of the hangar one day. Okay, but if we can have an object go 50,000 feet in a second and nobody in there gets their brain scrambled, what is it? Like what are we doing? And we're always a couple of like months away from having the magic trick revealed to us.
Yeah.
But that second month never comes. We're always waiting for the next day, and it never happens.
Yeah, I feel like that's been going on since 2017. Like the New York Times kind of did that story about like I think it was a Tic Tac that David Fravor, and then you had was it Grush?
Yes,
it was another pilot saying that he's seeing like I think it was a black square inside of a a ball, basically.
Yes.
Flying through the air. And it's just like, so we get like little trickles and then nothing ever really is confirmed. And then you have like the weird things. Was it like fall of 24? You had those drones all over the place. And then we're like, what is this? and then those went away, and no one has ever talked about them again. And then,
right, yeah, we all just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So fast that, that was one of the great things about X-Files. Like the first episode I ever saw, it started with they're chasing somebody, and you don't know who's chasing them or who they are or who he is. They shoot this guy. He falls to the ground. Vapors come out of his body and knock everybody unconscious. And that's how the episode begins. And then it hit me. There was a story that went viral before the internet, whatever we called viral back then, where somebody was on the operating table and they opened the incision and the entire crew in the operating room passed out from some fume. And it was a huge story for 24 hours and everyone just forgot about it. And the genius of that show is they would take that thing and tie it into other things and remind you, like, a lot of crap goes on that we never get an explanation of. And we're just so easily distracted. And I think that's who's ever in charge of all these things, if there is any one entity, they love the fact that we're so easily distracted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jerry, it's no mistake that, it's just a Sedona resort is just a state over from Utah and New Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like we went to Sedona as a family one time. That we had this kind of weird guy following us, like, call it 30 yards back, and then we'd look back at him, and he'd like be looking up at the sky. And then my dad's like, all right, let's get out of here. We cross paths. And he's like, hey, have you guys found the vortex? We're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so we just hightail it out of there. This creepy guy following us. And it's just like, there's just weird, like, unexplained. And I also, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I just feel like every major thing my entire life has turned out to be a lie. So it's like whatever the official narrative is, I'm like, well, that can't be it, because they just the media and the government, they just don't have much credibility with me. Yeah. So it's just it makes you want to dig deeper and further, because it's like I used to take everything hook, line, and sinker, and now I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was a big believer that the Apollo astronauts all saw on the far side of the moon these towers, alien towers, and that was considered and that they talked about it and they broadcast it back to mission control. Well, we just had 4 of our best and brightest buzz right around there, got a view of the entire far side of the moon in a way that no other human beings ever had, and took pictures, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And the government has a lot to do with the fact that people believe this kind of stuff. Like, so many photos that NASA has published of the surface of Mars from the rovers there, and also of the moon, have been altered.
Yeah.
They'll take, like, you'll see this rock, like, wait a minute, this rock was in this picture, but it's also here. Or sometimes, like, a crater appears twice in the same image. Yeah. And then sometimes, like, something is just blurred out. And of course, we're all gonna, you in the vacuum of information, we're all gonna put in the wildest thing we can think of. And like, why you altered? Oh, and then the fact that so many of the Apollo files were just lost or erased or whatever. Like, I don't know, like they taped the Cosby Show over them in like in 1986 or something by accident or whatever. Like, how could that be? So again,
that's like with the thing where with the JFK assassination, they lost his brain. We lost it. Like, how? Like, what do you mean you lost the assassinated president's brain? That makes no, like, how the fuck does that happen? So it's just,
and that they have autopsy photos where you can see all the hair on the back of his head.
Yeah.
Which everyone there in that room, and there were like 48, I think, medical professionals in that room, plus a couple of FBI guys. They all said the same thing. Oh yeah, the whole back of his head was missing. Okay, but it's in the Warren Commission report. Here's his head. And they weren't anticipating that the Zapruder film would come out and we'd see that thing gone, or flapping open like a door. And so in the absence of any actual information, we're going to project the wildest shit that we can come up with, and that's on them.
Yeah, and then I know this is off subject, but the other thing with Kennedy's brain is that they supposedly weighed it in the autopsy, and it weighed more than your much more than your average brain. And then it's like, well, how can that be if Jackie Kennedy's scooping it out of the back of the sedan?
Right.
So it's like that makes no sense. So it's like nothing, like these details like do matter and nothing ever lines up, but then it's just swept away and classified or lost or whatever.
Darren Rovell's got a sliver of it in a jar on his windowsill. Graded PSA 9 this past year.
Once in a while, there'll be somebody who gives an interview who kind of knows where a lot of the secrets are. And I take comfort in when they say this, like usually what you think is a conspiracy theory is just incompetence. Like the government is so bad at doing things, especially in groups, that it's usually just to screw up like JFK. Say, like if you think that a bunch of people could have gotten together and pulled this off and then kept the lid on it for 60 plus years, then you're giving them way too much credit. Having said that, no, that's a cover up for sure. Yeah. I don't know who did it. There's plenty of plausible theories, but this one kook that just happened to, and I used to think it was just Oswald, but the thought that this guy just happened to be working at a place where they just happened to be running him by in an open, limousine, and this guy just happened to be a good shot. You're like, no, because it all ignores the fact that every doctor in that room said there was a wound right there in the neck, right where a tracheotomy would be, and it was an entry wound, which means he was shot from the front. And everything that's happened since, all the investigations, the Warren Commission, all that, has ignored or covered up that fact that every professional in there said he got shot in the front, and then what's his name from the senator? He ended up as a senator from Pennsylvania. Arlen Specter.
Arlen Specter,
came up with the whole thing. Yeah,
the Spygate guy.
Yes, and they pulled and they also pulled a guy out of Congress to be on the Warren Commission. Just kind of your garden variety, average representative from Michigan.
And they made him the president.
He became the president, right? Yeah. Without ever getting elected president, without even getting elected vice president. He just happens to emerge out of the Warren Commission into the Oval Office, and he's sitting behind the Resolute desk. Like,
funny how that worked out.
That's a coincidence. Yeah, that's one hell of a coincidence. And
then they had to whack out Nixon's original VP, and then they put him in. So they not killed, but like they had like a scandal where he had some kind of tax evasion or something, so he had to be fired or resigned, and then they just handpicked their guy, and then who knows what they did to Nixon.
And even taking Nixon out. What he did, whatever he might have done, and I think it was very little. At worst, it was a misdemeanor. Yeah. But they just figured out a way to get him removed and put the guy in place that they had his second in command, that they had also installed in that. And that really, Tucker is called in this, it was a coup d'etat.
Yeah. Yeah. Jerry, we should do a show about all this stuff. We should do a show.
I love it too. And here's the thing. You can probably tell, and I can tell this about you guys, that you enjoy a good conspiracy theory. But like I wrote on the blog this week, I like a good one. Yeah. Like this one we started talking about. This is a good one because there's layers to it. And you can see patterns, and some of that might just be pareidolia, where there's not a pattern there, but you see it, the way you'll look at a cloud and it's looks like a rabbit, whatever. But I like a good one. Some of them are just so dark and grim. I want to be part of them. And I said this yesterday, too many of them, you start to pull that thread and the thread comes out an inch. And I had said this to Dave and Dante at the Super Bowl. I go, too many, you pull the thread and then someone going, it's the Jews. And it's like, okay, you just lost me.
Was that Dante?
I know.
Yeah, no, I get it. We've been doing this for 7.5 years, and we've done so many random conspiracy theories, and we stay away from those ones that are not as, I don't know, that are a little dark, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just like, and I do like I want to know the truth, and I get annoyed when it's like there are so many things that just don't make sense, and you're still hammering me with this. Like, be better at lying. Like, cover your bases more, and I'll shut up. But it's like when you have these, I don't know. It's just like I'm so intrigued by what the motivation is for the secrecy on some of this stuff. Like that's really what it's like. All right, like the Kennedy one we've been talking about,
right?
Like that was 63 years ago. Like we can't know the finer details of that now.
Yeah.
Right.
So
every single person involved in that is dead and buried.
Yeah.
Let's just open it up. Like, what's the worst that can happen? We're going to lose faith in our institutions or whatever.
We're already there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Vietnam. Let's talk about MK Ultra. Let's talk about COVID. You know, again, the bar of things I'm willing to accept as at least plausible got a lot lower 6 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
When all of a sudden everything that we were told was a lie, and lots of people made tons of money. And, you know, I'm an Irishman, which means I, forget the things I should remember, and I remember the things I should forget.
Yeah.
And I just stop lying to us, stop pandering to us. Just throw open the gates and let's have all the information. Certainly about JFK, for sure about the UFOs. Enough is enough on this. Anyone's going to say the Epstein thing too, but we've even corrupted that beyond all recognition. Now it's just like whatever side you're rooting for, you just go, the other side's guy was involved in that. Well, no, your guys are involved in that, not mine. And I just go, who? How are they involved? Tell me names. Tell me what they did. The only one we know that's even gotten arrested was Prince Andrew, and they washed their hands of that fraud a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So I mean, who's being protected?
That's the thing where it's become everything is a political football, and it's like you're right. This side, your side, up my side, whatever. It's like you need a paradigm shift of what the sides are. And it feels like it needs to be based more upon class than upon, left and right. Because it does feel like there is this. It doesn't matter. It's just like they just switch who's ever actually making the final call. It's just an R and a D, but they're all the same things. It's like we're progressing on the same sort of timeline, no matter who's in charge. And it's like we really do need a populist kind of. The people need to be back in power or something.
Sure. Yeah, if the mothership touched down in the Rose Garden, the White House lawn, and got out and just told Trump, here we're going to give you all the knowledge to make this place a peaceful paradise, half of America would go, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. Look at look. Oh, what? These aliens are MAGA now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it was 4 years ago when they did that, and they did it to Biden, people
Same
like
thing.
Kid Rock would be going, I'm not following them. No way. I don't want nothing to do with that.
It's a dementia patient. Can't listen to that.
Exactly. We're not going to get anywhere. Somehow maybe if all the UFO stuff came out and we find out that we've been visited and we're not alone, that maybe then we'd kind of say, we've been kind of fighting about a lot of inconsequential nonsense in the long run. Why don't we just kind of figure this stuff out? But even saying that, I realize I'm giving humanity too much credit.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened in Independence Day. We all came together to fight a common enemy. We need an enemy. That's what it is. We need a common enemy.
Yeah, I don't want it to be an enemy that would be too hard to defeat, though.
Yeah, we just got to fly right up their ass.
Yeah.
And we need a president like Bill Pullman. And I'm afraid we just don't make them like him anymore.
Yes. Jerry, thank you. Also, I'm not sure if you caught it, but I had to slide in that Sedona joke. I don't know if your head coach is under some fire today. So I was alluding to.
I didn't catch that either.
I was alluding to that being one of the distractions.
Yes, I don't know anything about that. I'm sure it's all just gonna resolve
They're just holding
itself.
hands. They're friends.
The Patriots are back, baby. When the whole world is finding ways to trash them and take photos that seem to me to be kind of deceiving. Who's the person with the telephoto lens doing that? Like check yourself. Like really get some help. What's wrong with you that you're sitting there like invading these people's privacy and ignoring the other 6 people that apparently were with them?
Yeah.
Wasn't Ben Johnson, I know that.
I just want to have nice things.
Yeah.
I've seen this team win 6 Super Bowls. I've seen them lose 6 Super Bowls, and all they've done is getting trashed my entire life, and I don't know what to do with it anymore.
I would take that trade though, Jerry.
Yeah. It's not the worst feeling.
Yeah.
Believe me. In the meantime, until this resolves itself, I'm giving the whole situation a good leaving alone.
Yeah.
And
Got more
hope
important
that-
things to focus on, like these aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, fellas, listen, this was great. I talked to Big Cat recently, and he talked about me coming out and visiting with you guys.
That'd be
soon
great.
You should. We'll do an
Love that.
in-person episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll find a good topic and we'll do it again.
I'd love that, and I love Chicago, and it's been too long, and I haven't been to New York since before Western civilization collapsed. So like there was going out there and hanging out with you guys in a city that's still like somehow habitable. Yeah. Plus, we might as well talk before the mothership comes and just starts blowing up every landmark in the world, and we have to like learn how to fly some jets and go take them all on.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
Thanks,
Go follow
Jerry.
him at Jerry Thornton on Twitter, and obviously he's going to keep posting on the blog on Barstool Sports, so go check it out. Thanks a lot, Jerry. We appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
And also, guys, we should let you know that Barstool has released a new board game. It's called Introducing Embrace Debate. Actually, it's just called Embrace Debate, excuse me. It's a party game. There's 200 of the greatest sports debate topics. It's available at Walmart. You pull a card, no stats, no Googling. You just get into it. It's perfect for a game night, a tailgate, whatever. Embrace Debate, shop now at walmart.com or in stores nationwide. All right, everyone, that's the episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you all next week.